And we're off. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the home spun yak. Kyle and I were just talking alcohol. Kyle, would you like to introduce us to a particular alcohol that you mentioned to me just a little while ago?
I would. This weekend, I did a little event out in Pittsburgh,
I thought you were
and
going to say Pittsburgh. I was like, damn, you went far. A little event.
it's real small, 10 people, Pittsburgh. Um, went to Pittsburgh, and I won't say the name of the establishment because people might inundate this place with only requests of this beverage.
Oh, really?
Yep. Uh, so I did the event. It's like a big oyster socially distanced, of course. And I was pouring wine that paired well with oysters, and people bought a ticket and they could go around outside and and taste different oysters from across the state, across the Outer Banks. I think someone was there from Maryland, maybe one from Charleston,
Yeah.
and it's cool to taste those and see that there is a pretty stark difference between different types of oysters from different places. And I was there just pouring certain wines, and people could order the wines too if they wanted them. But it was just a nice little compliment to what was going on. And then as soon as the event ended, I was hanging out with a couple of other wine reps from different companies who are also involved with the event.
Mm-hmm.
And we were just standing at the bar, and I noticed a bottle of Pappy Van Winkle just sitting there by his lonesome on the shelf. And he, in this place, has an amazing bourbon selection anyway. But I was very shocked to see that. And then one of the girls that was standing there, another one of the wine reps, asked, how much is like a 1 ounce pour, of this Pappy.
Mm-hmm.
And
$5, $6. How much was it?
25 cents. Oh, I was expecting it to be higher, but it was $35,
Huh.
which is high.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Oh yeah.
for a
You get like
one
a whole
ounce pour.
bottle for like of other
Yeah,
bourbons.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. You definitely could get a whole bottle for that at the old ABC store. But she said she had this before in Charleston at a famous restaurant that gets this sometimes, and it was $90 for a 1 ounce pour there.
Well, damn.
So, being my birthday week coming up, I decided to splurge, and everybody else did too. And then we each got a 1 ounce pour because never in my life did I anticipate being able to drink this bourbon because
So,
it's just so rare.
so tell us a little bit about the bourbon. What makes it so rare? Like, what's so special about it?
Um, well, a lot of things make it really sought after in the market, not just for restaurants or retail shops, if they can carry. Obviously, North Carolina is a little bit different because all liquor has to be purchased at an ABC store, and then
Uh-huh.
they allocate it to restaurants first, and then like the public can shop around. And basically, if anywhere gets a bottle of Pappy in North Carolina, it might be one bottle, and then it goes to the top supporter of like maybe Weller or Buffalo Trace or something else like that.
Okay.
And
Yeah. I've heard of Buffalo Trace before.
yeah, so a lot of people get Pappy Van Winkle by means of the black market or Facebook or
It's a pretty stark difference. The black
yeah,
market. Or, well, you can get it on
Facebook.
Facebook as well.
In these little group chats online you can find. Um, And if you're buying this from the distillery, which this is the 15-year version, they do like a 23-year and I think a 25-year as well.
Hmm.
The 15-year, like if they sold it to an ABC store, or like if they were in New York and a retail store could just buy, I guess, direct, it would be $120 for that bottle. Now, I looked online in the secondary market, like now me buying it from that said retail shop in New York, like a legal way of doing it. I saw it online as high as $3,500 for one bottle of this, and the 25-year there's been as high as $16,000 for a bottle.
Jeez.
It's
Wow. It's
insane.
pretty expensive to tinkle some Winkle.
And I know a guy who like was in contact with this guy who had a bottle for like an entire week, just like never met him before, and they're like, he's like, meet me at this warehouse like on the border.
On the board.
And he was able to get it for like $850,
Yeah.
like a bottle,
Wow.
which arguably is a good deal, I guess. But
Yeah.
um, but it was kind of cool. I mean, I have the whole sort of story of this bourbon, and can regale it to the folks.
Oh, I would be happy to hear that.
Well, it's named after this guy, Julian Van Winkle,
Hmm.
who was born in the late 1800s. Um, and when he was a teenager, he was basically a sales rep for this company, this bourbon company in Louisville called Weller and Sons.
Hmm. Okay.
And then in 1915, he partnered up with a guy who actually purchased Weller and Sons because I think they were like having financial trouble, and basically took over distilling and went kind of in a whole new direction of like quality over quantity. And even during Prohibition, they were still allowed to uh, make whiskey because of medicinal purposes.
Oh,
So
okay.
they were one of 6 distilleries in the whole country that was able to still be in
Wow.
business.
Yeah.
So they didn't lose their business, and they kept making and refining their product. Um, but yeah, like I said, he was the first guy to focus on high quality ingredients and production methods when everybody else was just distilling for quantity, just trying to pump something out.
Hmm.
Nobody had really done that in the United States before. Um, and when he was older, everybody in the industry referred to him as Pappy. Uh, so that's hence the name Pappy Van Winkle comes from. When he died in the 60s, his son took over and created a separate distillery and brand called Old Rip Van Winkle, which I think you can still buy that brand in certain places. But then his grandson, Julian Van Winkle III, took over in the 80s after his dad died, and sort of brought everything back to the basics. Like he found his grandfather's old recipes and started to keep all the bourbon he made aging in barrels for a really long time before bottling and releasing. So he kept a lot of it back in-house. And in 1994, he released the first ever 20-year-old bourbon under the Pappy Van Winkle brand, which you see there. And that's actually a picture of his grandfather smoking a cigar there. Pappy himself.
So that's the one that had started the whole thing in 19 or bought it in 1915 or whatever it
Yeah,
was.
he
Okay.
started it, and then the actual Pappy Van Winkle label started in 1994. His grandson created it.
Okay.
Um, And like I said, it was the first time someone had released a bourbon in the market that was that old. And it was probably a huge risk at the time because things like vodka and gin and things more marketed toward like nightlife and I don't know, partying sort of were number one in the market. But this Pappy Van Winkle scored in 99 at the World Spirits Championship in 1998. And that's kind of when it became a cult, like massive following behind it.
Hmm.
Everybody wanted it at that point because it was recognized as the best, whiskey in the world at that time. Um, and so they still had the Weller distillery that they were making it in
Yeah.
until 2002 when it switched to being made at Buffalo Trace. So, are you familiar? You're familiar with Buffalo Trace,
Yeah, I
right?
am. Right.
Um, and because it was made at Buffalo Trace, and it still is, and aged there, um, Buffalo Trace became a very hot commodity too. Like I can't go to the ABC store and buy a bottle of Buffalo Trace, even though it's like probably $50 a bottle or so. If I were to be able to buy one,
Hmm.
it just as soon as it gets in, it goes to like allocated restaurants immediately. And that was never the case before probably the announcement was made that, hey, now Pappy Van Winkle, this cult bourbon, is now going to be made at Buffalo Trace. And Buffalo Trace is really good,
Yeah.
obviously, but you
But
just
it's no
can't buy a bottle
Pappy.
here. It's no Pappy, that's for sure. Um, but yeah, so it switched to Buffalo Trace, and people like Anthony Bourdain have tried it on like his shows in the past, um, and said like, if God was a distiller of whiskey, this would be what he made. And like, comments from like celebrity people like that, chefs,
Yeah.
also probably increase
Oh,
its
I'm sure.
value and
Yeah.
prestige. Um, but every November they release, another batch of it,
One
to
bottle.
be sold. Actually, it's tens of thousands of bottles.
I would just
But it's
love for
just
them to release 9 bottles and one bottle that's
yeah,
to rule them
one
all.
bottle, yeah, to rule them all. The Bourbon King. Um, but yeah, like I said, the 15-year. If you look on their website, it's 120. What they would sell it to direct to, you know, a distributor or something like that, and then the 23-year is about 249.99. But like I said, the 25-year, I think it's about 300. And if you have a bottle, if you attain a bottle of this, basically, you can flip it for an absurd amount of profit. So that's why a lot of people want to collect some that have, that have been made throughout the years. So
Hmm.
it's a pretty unique bottle. I mean, it wasn't like I tasted it and it was definitely like the most unique bourbon I've ever had.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what you thought of it.
Yeah, I mean it's 53%, so pretty high
Hmm.
um, alcohol, but the burn that you get is sort of masked by the richness of it all, and they haven't released the recipe. Obviously, it's a family secret, and I think there's a big like attempt, or maybe even a successful attempt at like an inside job at Buffalo Trace, like a few years back to like steal like all of it. Like there's a really good episode on Criminal that talks about, I can't remember exactly what happened, but it's like Ocean's 11 type shit.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
I do wonder
But it
how
was
they
great.
hold that stuff. Is it just based off of NDA? Like you just like if you work on that project, you're just not allowed to discuss it.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like it's probably been the same people who have like made it forever, but I'm sure if you work at Buffalo Trace, you have to sign something, or I'm not exactly sure, but
Your soul.
probably, yeah. But but yeah, it was definitely unique. That's what I'll say about it. It wasn't like the most mind blowing beverage I've ever had, but it was like definitely, like I said, it's high alcohol, but the burn was nice. It wasn't like harsh like a lot are at that alcohol percentage.
Hmm.
And when you smelled it, it was like creme brulee smell, almost like caramel,
Wow. Okay.
vanilla. It
Yeah.
was really nice. And then the finish was like black cherry. It was just crazy.
Huh.
Um, but yeah, just a really cool and incredibly unexpected uh, experience because, like I said, I mean, I've known about Pappy and have heard all these stories and was just like, I mean, yeah, I'll never have it, but that looks cool. Like I
Yeah.
just never